Imagine, uh, imagine hiring this brilliant world-class consultant.
Okay, yeah.
You bring them into your enterprise, you open up your books, and you pay them handsomely by the hour to solve your most complex operational problems.
Right. So it's like standard business so far.
Exactly. And they look at your proprietary workflows, they figure out these brilliant new efficiencies, and they deliver a great result.
Mm-hmm.
But because of the contract you signed, that consultant gets to take every single trade secret they just learned from your operation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they just walk directly across the street and use that newly gained brilliance to optimize your biggest competitor.
Which is, I mean, that's just a nightmare scenario for any business.
It really is.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If you are using enterprise AI today, that is quite literally what you are doing.
It is, yeah. And it's this uncomfortable reality that a lot of boardrooms are, well, they're just now waking up to it. You adopt a frontier AI model to get an edge, but that model is learning from your data. It's generalizing that intelligence and effectively raising the baseline for the entire market.
So you're doing all the heavy lifting.
Exactly. You are doing the hard work of applying the AI to real-world problems, but the AI provider is the one walking away with the compounding intelligence.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are jumping into a really fascinating deep dive today based on a July 2026 press release and a white paper excerpt from EON AI Ventures.
Yeah, the paper is called Sovereign Work Intelligence, Switch the Model, Keep the Value.
Yes, and EON is making a very aggressive, like a highly contrarian bet here.
They really are.
They are claiming that the massive AI models everyone is currently just obsessing over are rapidly becoming commodities.
Right, just utilities, basically.
And more importantly, the mission for us today is to look at how they are laying out this blueprint for how an enterprise can actually stop leaking its competitive edge to the tech giants.
And instead keep that resulting intelligence entirely for themselves.
Which is huge. Whether you, listening to this, whether you are running a global supply chain, maybe managing a factory, or honestly just trying to future-proof your own career in this shifting economy.
You really need to understand who actually owns the output of your work in the AI era.
Right, because EON argues that right now, the industry has the power dynamic totally backwards.
What's fascinating here is how they dissect the current fixation on frontier models. I mean, for the past few years, the narrative has just been all about which lab has the most parameters.
Right, like who's got the highest benchmark scores.
Exactly, the most raw cognitive power. But EON operates on a premise that the leading models are actually converging in capability.
Oh, wait, converging. Like they're all basically the same now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. If you put the top 3 models side by side today, their ability to reason, to write code, or analyze a complex data set, it is functionally identical for most enterprise applications.
Okay, meaning the cognition itself is no longer a differentiator.
Right.
It is just a utility. Because if everyone has access to a genius-level reasoning engine for, I don't know, a few fractions of a cent per prompt,
So yeah, dirt cheap.
then simply having AI doesn't give you an edge over the company down the street anymore. It's table stakes.
Which brings us to EON's central thesis. They state this outright in the paper. They say, quote, "Frontier labs sell you tokens and keep the alpha."
Sell you tokens and keep the alpha. Okay, so you are paying for the compute power.
The tokens, yeah.
But you are surrendering the alpha.
Exactly. And the alpha being the unique advantage that's generated when that AI interacts with your highly specific, messy real-world business problems.
Right, but wait. If the models are roughly the same across all these different providers, how does an enterprise actually build a durable advantage? Like, where is the moat?
Well, so the intelligence curve is flattening, and the models are effectively just, electricity powering the building. Right. Then the actual competitive moat cannot be the model itself. The durable advantage sits entirely in whoever owns the accumulated intelligence produced by that workflow over time.
Okay, so it's in the execution layer.
Exactly. It's the layer where AI is actually put to work.
Yeah.
If your company relies on a single provider's AI to run its operations, and you build all your internal software directly on top of their proprietary APIs.
Oh, then you are locked in.
You are totally locked in. You are entirely at the mercy of their pricing, their updates, and especially their data policies.
Which is terrifying for a global enterprise.
Yeah. So EON's solution to this is a fundamental architectural shift. They want to decouple the enterprise workflow from the underlying AI model.
Decouple it. And they do that through what they call the EON Switchboard.
Right, the switchboard.
It's this model-agnostic routing layer. To me, when I read this, it sounds a lot like having a universal translator at the United Nations.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. Your delegates, which would be your internal enterprise workflows and applications, they don't need to learn a new language every time a new country, or in this case, a new AI model, enters the room.
Mm-hmm.
The switchboard just sits right in the middle, intercepts the task, and translates it instantly to whichever model is best suited for the job.
That captures the mechanism perfectly. By sitting in the middle, the switchboard can dynamically route tasks on the fly.
Wow. Okay.
So if a task requires really heavy, complex reasoning, it routes it to an expensive frontier model.
Yeah.
But if it is a highly specialized routine calculation,
Something repetitive.
yeah, it routes it to a smaller open-weight model that costs a fraction of a cent to run. You can seamlessly swap providers on the back end without having to rewrite, millions of lines of code on the front end.
But practically speaking, how does a complex procedure actually move from being a high-level problem solved by a massive AI to a cheap, repeatable process? Because if I am using an expensive frontier model to offer a complicated workflow, I certainly cannot afford to pay that same massive model to execute that workflow 10,000 times a day across my whole organization.
No, absolutely not.
That compute cost would be just astronomical. There has to be a mechanism that translates the heavy lifting into something lightweight.
Right. And that transition is handled by what EON calls their two-plane architecture.
Two-plane architecture, okay.
Yeah, they divide the system fundamentally into a build plane and a run plane.
Got it.
The build plane is where you leverage those frontier models. It is where you author the intelligence.
Like drafting the blueprint.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a highly complex diagnostic tree for troubleshooting a massive industrial compressor. You use the heavy compute in the build plane to ingest all the manuals, the engineering specs, and figure out the absolute best diagnostic sequence.
Right. It's like using your Michelin-starred executive chef to invent the recipe.
Oh, that's good.
You pay them an absolute fortune to spend all day in the test kitchen, right? Figuring out the exact flavor profiles and writing down the steps.
But you do not have that executive chef chopping onions for 1,000 dinner guests.
Exactly.
Once the build plane authors that diagnostic sequence, the switchboard essentially compiles that logic into a deterministic, highly efficient script, and it passes that script down to the run plane.
So the line cooks take over.
Yes, the line cooks.
Yeah.
The run plane is cost-optimized and heavily gated for compliance. It uses much smaller localized models or even just standard deterministic code to actually execute the procedure in the field at scale.
Wow.
So the heavy cognitive lifting happens once in the build plane, but the scale and execution happen cheaply in the run plane.
Okay, I have to stop you right there because theoretically, this sounds brilliant, but deploying a unified AI brain across global borders is a massive legal hurdle.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
We are talking about global enterprises here. If a multinational corporation has manufacturing plants in Munich, Sao Paulo, and Chicago, they cannot just dynamically route their operational data to whichever AI model happens to be cheapest that second.
No, they'd be sued instantly.
Right. The data residency laws in Europe are entirely different from those in the US. A compliance officer would honestly have a heart attack looking at a system that just swaps brains willy-nilly across borders.
It is arguably the single biggest bottleneck for enterprise AI adoption today, which is why the EON Switchboard includes a localized governance feature they call the sovereignty switch.
The sovereignty switch?
Yeah, this isn't just about picking a model based on price or capability. It is about aligning data residency and model provenance to specific legal jurisdictions.
Oh, so the switchboard is physically restricting where the data travels and which model processes it based on the geographic location of the user.
Functionally, yes. The architecture supports distinct operational configurations. They break it down into US-only, allied, and global south configurations.
Okay, so it just adapts to wherever it is.
Right. So if an engineer in a German facility queries the system, the sovereignty switch ensures that the data never leaves the European Economic Area.
Making sure it's fully compliant.
Exactly. And that it is only processed by a model hosted in a jurisdiction compliant with local data protection laws.
Okay.
Conversely, a factory operating in a global south jurisdiction might be routed through a completely different set of compliant infrastructure. It handles the geopolitical reality of data borders automatically at the routing layer.
So the enterprise doesn't have to build separate, siloed IT infrastructures for every single country they operate in.
Right, which is just a functional compliance reality for global businesses today.
Yeah.
EON is just providing the neutral infrastructure to handle those complex global data laws.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, because establishing this secure, switchable infrastructure, as cool as it is, it's just the plumbing.
Yeah, just the pipes.
The actual goldmine EON is going after isn't just routing emails or optimizing spreadsheets, they are going after the physical world. Yes.
And they make this incredibly profound point in the paper. The text, the code, the digital knowledge that trained all of today's massive LLMs, it has already been scraped.
Right, the digital world is largely tapped out.
But the physical world has not been scraped.
This is such a huge point. There is no web corpus for physical labor.
No.
You cannot run a web crawler to figure out the exact sequence of, wrist movements, torque, and visual assessments required to repair a proprietary turbine engine deep inside a cargo ship.
It's just not on the internet.
Right, that data does not exist in a digital text file. It has to be performed in physical reality, it must be sensed by equipment, and it must be actively recorded.
It is the difference between reading about a bicycle and actually riding one.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you can ingest all the Wikipedia articles in the world about gyroscopic motion and center of gravity, but that digital text will not teach you how to ride a bike.
No, you'll still fall right over. Exactly. The actual knowledge is in the physical telemetry. Feeling the bike tilt 2 degrees to the left and instinctively shifting your weight to the right.
Right.
That continuous loop of action, resistance, and adjustment, that is the unscrapable asset.
And capturing that physical telemetry is technologically exhausting. It is exactly why the big AI labs haven't done it.
Because it's hard.
Yeah, scraping text from a server is frictionless. Capturing the nuance of a worker interacting with heavy machinery requires integrating with the hardware, understanding the physics of the environment, and recording the human action simultaneously.
Which brings us to EON's technology stack.
Right, EON Universal. It's built specifically to capture this, and it is anchored by a 6-layer composable equipment ontology.
Okay, let's break down how that actually looks in practice for the listener. Because instead of just giving a worker a static PDF manual on an iPad, EON is integrating the worker's physical actions into a live digital map of the facility.
Yeah, they map every physical object, every valve, every motor and sensor into an operable digital twin. And these aren't just pretty 3D models. They carry live engineering attributes. So if a technician walks up to a faulty turbine, they might be wearing a mixed reality headset powered by EON's spatial software.
Like their Field IQ system.
Exactly, Field IQ. The system visually overlays exactly which bolt needs to be removed first. And they have Genesis for guided procedures, Assess IQ to verify the worker is doing it right.
But it isn't just a passive instruction manual, right?
No.
If the system is connected to smart tooling, it is actively recording the work. When the technician turns that bolt, the system records the exact amount of torque applied. It records how many seconds the task took. It records the acoustic signature of the turbine when it restarts. All of that feeds into what they call compound IQ.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that seamless loop of action and data collection is what EON calls their intelligence flywheel.
The intelligence flywheel.
Right. Every single time a routine maintenance task is performed, the system verifies the worker's competency, ensures safety compliance, and ingests all that physical telemetry back into the enterprise's private database.
Wow.
They are turning the mundane, everyday physical procedures that workers were going to do anyway into a compounding, physics-grounded data asset.
And because of the switchboard architecture we talked about earlier, that massive data set of physical telemetry stays entirely under the enterprise's control.
Yes.
They can use whatever AI model they want to analyze that data, but the AI provider never gets to keep the physical know-how. The enterprise keeps the alpha.
The plant floor, the oil rig, the assembly line, these aren't just cost centers anymore.
Yeah.
In this architecture, they become the most valuable data generation engines in the entire company.
Which brings us to the business reality here, because if physical data is the new oil, how is EON charging for the extraction equipment, so to speak?
Right, the business model.
Yeah, they're deliberately challenging the standard paper token model that the frontier labs rely on. Instead, EON uses what they call a commit-to-create pricing structure.
Commit to create, yeah.
They charge for the outcomes created, not the compute consumed.
Which is brilliant, because a token-based pricing model inherently incentivizes the vendor to make you consume more compute.
Right. They want you to just keep prompting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But EON is aligning their revenue with the enterprise's actual asset generation.
Yeah.
You are paying for the tangible business value.
Like what, exactly?
Well, like a newly authored verifiable field procedure or a successfully completed competency assessment on the factory floor.
Got it.
You are paying for the resulting work intelligence
Yes.
rather than the raw processing power it took to generate it.
Okay, I hear that. And structurally, it makes perfect sense. But let me play the skeptic for a second.
Sure.
I look at the enterprise software market, and it is just littered with incredibly slick white papers outlining revolutionary architectures that just never survive contact with an actual Fortune 500 IT department.
Oh, absolutely. Vaporware is everywhere.
Right. It is very easy to philosophize about composable equipment ontologies and global sovereignty switches on paper. Is anyone actually operating at this scale? Or is this just a theoretical blueprint from a company trying to ride the latest AI hype cycle?
Well, that skepticism is entirely warranted in today's market, which is likely exactly why EON grounds their white paper so heavily in their operating history.
Okay.
EON AI Ventures is built on a 25-year foundation of immersive learning and spatial computing technology.
25 years.
Yeah. This is not a 6-month-old startup wrapper around an LLM API. They have an established footprint with over 4,400 institutional customers across more than 80 countries
Wow, okay.
and over 136 million platform downloads. EON has been earning this data for a quarter of a century.
So they have been in the trenches capturing procedural, spatial, and physical work data long before generative AI was even a concept for the general public.
Long before
They have essentially been laying the pipe for this physical data capture for decades. And now the AI models are finally sophisticated enough to process it.
they have earned the right to have this physical data by building the spatial infrastructure over decades. Dan Lajerskar, the founder and chairman, summarizes their stance quite pointedly in the release.
What does he say?
He says, quote, "Our customers should never bet their operation on one lab's price, policy, or politics, and they should never pay to have their own know-how commoditized back to them."
That is a strong quote.
It is. The core philosophy is that the data of the physical world cannot just be bought. It must be earned through actual operational execution.
Never pay to have your own know-how commoditized back to you. I think for you, listening right now, that is the ultimate litmus test for how you are interacting with these new tools.
Definitely.
Look at your own daily operations. Look at your own job. Are you actively generating outcomes and building systems that capture the unique expertise of your workforce, turning it into a durable asset?
Or are you just consuming tokens?
Exactly. Are you just paying a monthly subscription to train a model that will eventually offer your hard-earned efficiencies to your competitors? You have to ask yourself, what is your unscrapable asset?
It demands a complete strategic pivot. You can no longer look at AI merely as an operational shortcut.
Right.
You have to look at it as a mechanism for either building your own proprietary intelligence or slowly draining it away.
So what does this all mean? Let's distill the whole picture.
Okay.
EON AI Ventures is looking at the current AI landscape and declaring that the core cognition, the models themselves, are utilities. They are commodities. The true defensible value for any enterprise lies in the specific applied work intelligence that those models help facilitate. Because the digital world has already been strip mined for training data, the physical world, the literal actions, telemetry, and spatial reality of industrial work is the ultimate untapped frontier. By utilizing a switchable architecture, an enterprise can use the best AI models to author their workflows, use cost-effective models to run them, and fundamentally ensure that the resulting physical data asset stays securely on their own balance sheet. Switch the model, keep the value.
This raises an important question, though, one that extends far beyond just enterprise software architecture.
Oh, where are we going with this?
Well, if the physical world is the last major unscraped data set, and systems like EON are now capable of capturing the second-by-second telemetry of human physical labor,
yeah.
does the very nature of what it means to do physical work change?
You mean the purpose of the work itself shifts?
Consider the technician turning that wrench on the faulty turbine we talked about earlier. Historically, the sole purpose of that action was mechanical, right? To fix the machine so the ship can sail.
Right.
But in this paradigm, the act of turning the wrench, the specific torque applied, the human intuition to listen to the acoustic shift in the engine, that action is simultaneously generating high-fidelity, proprietary training data.
Oh, wow.
So does the physical labor become secondary to the data generation. We are entering an era where human physical experience, the literal movement of skilled bodies in space solving complex problems, might just become the most highly valued digital asset a company can possess on their balance sheet.
It redefines the frontline worker from a mechanical expense into the primary author of a company's most valuable intellectual property.
Exactly.
That is a massive paradigm shift in how we value human experience in the loop. Think about what happens when turning a wrench is literally writing code.
It changes everything.
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking the big questions, keep examining the tools you rely on, safeguard your unique alpha, and we will catch you on the next one.